Alright, so for the first time in like 15-ish years here in 2025, the Katamari series finally got a brand new, not remake game, and they've done it dirty and not really given it a fair fighting chance. It's exclusive to the Apple Arcade, and they haven't really promoted it at all. I'm lucky to know about it. If I didn't stumble upon a random Smashboards post of someone referencing it, I'd be in the dark too, and you would just think the game would be a bigger deal. But here we are, playing We Love Katamari, the latest remake, since I don't have Apple Arcade, and learning that news put me in the mood for a Katamari game. I forget exactly how I found out about the series, if it was word of mouth or if it was an advertising campaign, but I remember wanting to try out Beautiful Katamari, and I liked it, but maybe it was just me, but I remember that one being like a lot harder, at least from the remakes that I've played since that point. Like, I didn't even make it 5 levels in. Luckily, they had some DLC that didn't require any prerequisite missions, so that added a little more content for me to experience. But I kind of thought that would just be that. I liked it, but not enough to really invest a lot of time and effort into mastering the gameplay just to experience everything that they had to offer. Then years later, luckily I would give the series a second chance. I got the Damacy remake with a humble bundle. I think I was particularly getting it to get some Soul Calibur 6 or Tekken 7 content. And I decided to give it one more shot, and it worked out a lot better that time. You know you got a good game or concept when, I said this about Metal Gear recently too, but when your first reaction is to go out and get the rest of the games in the series. Hell, I'm surprised it took me this long to be particularly motivated to play another one. This particular entry, though, honestly, it kind of just felt like more of Katamari Damacy reroll, which isn't a bad thing. Like, people eat up their yearly Call of Duty. I think if you've got like a really unique premise here, even if you don't really add much to it, I don't mind revisiting every few years if you put out a new game. I don't even really know how you would really shake up the formula even though too, but I guess that's why I'm not a professional game designer or anything. I don't know, maybe if you had multiple Katamari, you sort of had to manage around the level, or if you were able to shoot chunks of your Katamari out to break down bigger objects. They can maybe do some power-ups. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Multiplayer does exist, but there wasn't any offline with bots options, so I didn't really get to experience it, but I can imagine some decent ideas with that too, whether you're collaborating or battling each other. I don't know, maybe some of the scenarios that they did this time were different from Damacy, but I'm sorry too, I'm probably butchering names in that, but it didn't necessarily feel like something that wouldn't have been in the previous game, if that makes any sense. Like, for the most part, I just didn't have that certainty that it wasn't something I experienced in the other game, you know? Other than the new levels, with this particular remake, they had the handful of new levels that they added, which were kind of remixes of other levels. They were definitely some of the more difficult levels in the game in its entirety, but I still made it through all of them, although some of them I didn't particularly like or feel motivated to really go for completion. Like, I remember one in particular where you had to recover musical instruments inside a school level, but I forget if he had to avoid being seen or being touched. But there was just a lot going on, and it was really hard. And when it gave me completion just by getting one of the 6 instruments, I was good. I didn't want to try to go for, 100% getting all. I think there was 6 of them. Something else that I didn't really remember from the series in the past that I noticed in this game, and maybe it's a just me issue, but I feel like going from a level where you end up really, giant, massive, and then starting a level where you start off super small, it was a bit more jarring than I remember and harder to sort of get back into the rhythm and general excitement going from one extreme to another. I don't know, maybe I just got unlucky, picked a couple levels that shouldn't have really gone after each other. Or maybe it is a general thing to be wary of when it comes to general progression in the game. But it wasn't a super big deal. The only thing that I really didn't like was that there was certain quality of life things, particularly when it comes down to some of the collectibles you roll up, that I feel like should have been fixed and really demoted me from going for completion, which I think is a bad thing. A really good game would make you want to go for 100%, And I did feel like that with the first game. But here, you have presents back, but then you also have the cousins, which is a fun collectible, but my main issue with them is that there's multiple in some levels. I think presents are still 1 per level, or maybe 1 per level variant. I could be wrong with that, though. But it's like you can be repeating the same level over and over again, like that elephant and bird you saw right there. That's one of the last levels in the game. And it's a long one, like 20-ish minutes. I think it has 3 cousins. And then, so that's 3 playthroughs, at least, assuming you don't miss a cousin. And that's also assuming that you're really good at the game, because there's other achievements linked to that level that require you to roll up the king and queen. And if you're not good, the only way to do that is through sort of an infinite mode where the level doesn't end based on your timer size. So that's, and you can only do them one at a time, so that's another 2 playthroughs. And then I wound up trying it, and I fucked up. I bumped into the king before I had enough mass to roll him up, and he disappeared after that, which means in order for me to have gotten completion for that level, I would have had to have replayed it 7 times, this 20-minute level. And where the game generally does a good job of having variants of levels and sort of adjusting, the size you start off with or the objects around the area that you have to collect, it was just too much. I feel like they really should have not restricted you to 1 cousin per playthrough and allowed them to be collected in the unlimited variant. So that way you can, just focus on finding what you're missing, or even just being able to exit, because you need to complete the level too. If you don't complete a level successfully, you lose all your collectibles too. It would, be a little more tolerable if you could, exit early, assuming that your collectible isn't at the end of the level. But most of the time, it's kind of an open area, and it relatively isn't. Maybe even if they at least had that, it would have been a little more doable. But I don't know what's next for this series, especially with the way they handled their new entry. Maybe we'll get lucky and it's only a limited time exclusive offering, and then they'll put it more out there in both a platform and promotional sense. Even with remakes, I don't know what they would do next, because I think the next game that released was Me and My Katamari, which was PSP exclusive and probably not as much as a step forward as the next two entries, which would be Beautiful and Katamari Forever. But it's then, even then, do they want to focus on the PlayStation exclusive trilogy, or are they going to want to do Beautiful now before Forever? And do they even attempt anything? Because there's a lot of mobile spin-offs that were coming up. Could you maybe even include that as like a bonus if they did Me and My Katamari? Or if they bring I think it's called Damacy Rolling Live, the current Apple Arcade exclusive. Could that even be a thing added to that one too? Who knows? Either way, I like this series. I'm here for it. Looking forward to playing more. I actually recently decided to invest in a PS3, so very soon I will have the only mainline game I didn't have yet. So that's where that's all at.